We've been invited to go on a research project trying to develop contraception for elephants.
The problem is that there starts to be a very high competition for the food.
We're going to do an ultrasound on them to see if they're pregnant or not.
This kind of experience, you don't have it every day.
To see this in the middle of the field, in the middle of Africa, it's really fun.
Wanted, wildlife veterinarians to capture and move wild animals. Applicants must be willing to work long hours in severe environments and highly dangerous situations. Meet Ellen Mesner-Rogers and Jorge Paredes. Two young doctors just crazy enough to answer such an ad. Join them in South Africa as they learn firsthand from Dr. Corbus Rath and a team of other game capture specialists the challenges and triumphs of modern-day conservation.
It's going to be the experience of a lifetime.
On the Great African Wildlife Rescue.
We as humans feel a bond with elephants, partly because of their size, they're so magnificent, and part of it is because they're so similar to humans. There's such a strong bond between the mother and the calf, and they're intelligent, and if you watch them interact, you really feel how much they care for each other.
Once hunted to the brink of extinction for their valuable tusks, much of South Africa's elephant population now lives in protected areas. But this safety comes at a price. The growth of the modern world around them now prevents animals from migrating, as they have for thousands of years.
Now, the problem is that these animals are so well protected that there starts to be a very high competition for the food. Not only for them, but even to other animal species and plant species.
Large animals like elephants require huge areas to live successfully. With each full-grown animal consuming up to 250 kilograms of vegetation a day, a herd can level an entire area in no time. Because so many other species are affected by their impact on the landscape, the South African national parks are left with difficult choices.
The elephant problem, as they call it, is really a political and an emotional one. They want to keep the numbers of the elephants at a stable level. In the past, they've relied on culling, which means going in and killing a certain number of them each year.
Because these animals are quickly outgrowing the limited space available to them, wildlife management has been forced to consider destroying a portion of the animals under their care. Today, as part of an effort to control the breeding of these magnificent creatures, Ellen and Jorge are headed deep into the heart of Kruger National Park.
We've been invited to go on an elephant capture as a part of a research project trying to develop contraception for elephants.
One of two studies on birth control underway in Kruger, this project is led by Dr. Sibylla Quant.
Nice to meet you too.
This kind of technique to control the overpopulation of elephant is more like a research project. So it's just a tool.
So the long-term goal is to hopefully at some point be able to control elephant population numbers without involving any sort of killing. Is that right?
Yeah. Our first aim, what we see is that it's possible with our methods to control a small population.
These researchers have been working with a selected group of elephants in this experiment in birth control.
They get the elephant down and they do a very minor surgery, and they put an implant, which are just pieces of special plastic that has a chemical in it, right under the skin.
These hormonal implants are designed to keep an elephant from getting pregnant for at least 9 months. But to see if the experiment is working, the team must test the animal at least twice a year.
The nice thing about our project is also that we have a team of ultrasound specialists from Berlin, from that institute. And with the ultrasound, you can see if you have a pregnant animal immediately on the spot. So that is really fantastic.
The staging ground for this project is in the 2 million hectares of Kruger National Park, located in the northeastern corner of South Africa. Kruger is home to more than 8,000 elephants, including those taking part in this unusual study in birth control. Ellen and Jorge meet with Ian White of the South African Parks Board to learn more about today's mission.
This thing has been going now for about a year. Now they've come back, they need to examine all of these elephants again. All of them have got radio collars on, and our idea today is to go out and just track them using a fixed-wing aircraft, a small Cessna.
This is the first time that I've worked with radio-collared elephants, and it's a nice system because rather than standing on the ground, which is how you often do radio tracking, and trying to find them, they're going to be in the air, and they'll be able to locate them very quickly from there.
On this scouting mission, they are searching for 2 particular elephants. Once the animals are found, they will be tested for pregnancy. Each has been fitted with a radio collar which transmits a signal to the receiver in the plane, allowing the team to record the elephant's exact location.
Once you get the signal, you look for each specific animal, and next morning it will be easier to search for them, and the helicopter will be able to find them and dart them quicker.
Now that the elephants have been located, the team will prepare to dart them by helicopter, using the powerful narcotic known as M99. These darts are designed specifically for thick-skinned animals. On impact, sodium bicarbonate is mixed with acetic acid, forming a gas which expands to force a plunger forward, injecting the drug into the muscle of the animal. Weighing up to 90 times as much as a human, elephants are tremendously strong. Their powerful trunks contain nearly 100,000 muscles and rival the dexterity of the human hand. The immobilization of one animal requires hours of careful planning and preparation. In this research project, half the animals were given the birth control implant. The other half, called the control group, did not receive the implant and will be used only for comparison.
Our goal today is to anesthetize 2 animals. One of them is a control one, and the other one got an implant, and we have to verify that she's not pregnant.
We'll go in and dart those particular animals. Once they're down and asleep, we're going to do an ultrasound on them to see if they're pregnant or not.
Loaded with a barrage of high-tech equipment, the capture team sets out to find the first elephant. Since this animal does have the birth control implant, the team is hoping that she is not pregnant.
We need now some elephant.
Dr. Do Robla darts from the air.
The animal gets started, and the pilot's job is then to herd the animal toward the road and make sure it falls close to the road. But the sad part is, this cow has a calf, and the calf keeps coming back.
The baby didn't want to run away at all. He was very scared.
They're coming in low now. We know, as humans know, that she's going to be fine. She's down, she looks like she's dead, but she's gonna be fine. But the elephants don't know that. And the babies keep coming back, and they keep touching her and, you know, sort of trying to get her to get up. And, come on, Mom, come on, we gotta get out of here.
We tried to push him out to be able to work with the mother, but he didn't want to run away at all. And finally he decided to run away and probably to follow the rest of the group.
When we arrive, there's a whole procedure to go through. The ultrasound people are doing their job. They've got to get all the equipment set up. And it takes them probably 15 minutes once they get started to do the whole thing. But meanwhile, there's a lot of other jobs that are going on. We're taking measurements.
And that's the left foot.
Taking blood samples. We're taking milk samples.
I didn't know that you could milk an elephant so easily. Actually, it was like the same way you milk a cow, but I mean, just the skin is just completely weird and very thick.
What they want to see is the constitution of the milk. And also they are looking for some hormonal levels in this milk.
What's this one's number?
148.
This elephant wears a yellow radio collar that is marked to indicate that she does have the birth control implant.
It was very interesting for me to know where is the right place and the more practical place to put an implant. On elephant, we do it behind the ear because it's a place that you can feel it, and even if it moves, it will not go away from the ear.
The team works quickly so that this mother can be reunited with her calf as soon as possible. After just a few minutes, the ultrasound equipment is ready.
I found it really intriguing how scientists can use a place like Kruger as their laboratory and not compromise any science just because you're in the field. That I found very, very intriguing, and using the laboratory to try to solve the problems in the field as well.
Ultrasound uses high-frequency sound waves that allow the team to see if the animal is, in fact, pregnant. While one scientist wears an unusual helmet monitor, the others gather under a plastic sheet to watch as the image begins to form on screen.
When they do the ultrasound, they don't just look to see if the animal is pregnant or not. They also look at the ovaries, because if the contraception is working correctly, the ovaries will have shut down.
Although birth control implants have been used successfully in other animals, in elephants the process is still very much experimental. So the team is anxious to know if the contraception has worked.
What did you guys see?
She's not pregnant.
Not pregnant.
And then on the ovaries?
Inactive.
Both?
Both.
Okay.
Although others will be tested, in the case of this elephant, the experiment seems to have worked.
It looks like the implants might still be working.
After a year, the birth control implant appears to be working. So the crew decides to leave the radio collar on the animal so they can test her again in the future.
They're leaving the collar on because she's the one that got the implant with the hormone, and she's not pregnant, and it doesn't look like she's cycling reproductively. So they're going to leave it on, hopefully to see how long the implants will last. But unfortunately, they won't immobilize her again for another 6 months. So if she gets pregnant between now and 6 months, we don't know when she starts to cycle again.
In under 30 minutes, the entire process is complete, and the crew hurries to reunite this mother with her calf. After she is given the reversal drug, she will be awake in a matter of minutes. The captured team waits at a safe distance to avoid alarming the mother when she awakes and looks for her calf.
The maternal instinct is very strong in elephants, and the calves are very, very dependent on their moms as well. They don't like to be separated, and it's stressful to them when they are separated. Once the mom is up, it'll go back to the herd. She'll find the calf again very quickly.
It was a little bit hard for us to separate the baby from her mother. So it's always a very good feeling once you see this encounter again. Yeah, it's quite emotional.
With phase 1 complete, the team will start early tomorrow morning on the next part of the experiment, to examine a control female who does not have the birth control implant. While Jorge travels with the German team, Ellen and Do make an interesting discovery on the way back to camp.
We were really lucky because we ran into a pack of wild dogs just at the side of the road. And that's pretty unusual. Oftentimes you don't get to see them. And as we're kind of watching them and just counting how many are there,
we noticed that one of them had a red line around its neck and wanted to get a better look. What is that? Looks like blood. It was a snare. This dog had put its head into a snare, and we couldn't tell if the wire was still there, but it was definitely a big wound around the head.
A snare is a primitive device used to capture animals. The wild dog escaped the trap, but it looks like this sharp wire noose has been stuck around its neck for days.
We're darting the dog to get it down. We'll be able to remove the snare at that point, because that's the most important thing, get that wire off of there.
To dart this highly endangered animal so they can treat his wounds, Doe has to make a difficult shot through the trees.
Even though Kruger is a protected park and they have very good anti-poaching methods there, people go in and use snares not to hunt wild dogs, but they're looking for antelope, which is meat that they'll end up eating or selling. So there are still snares that get placed there.
Pulse getting better.
Pulse is strong, slightly irregular.
The side of the road becomes an emergency room as Doe and Ellen attend the dog's injuries.
We're giving him some antibiotics and a little bit of painkiller because he's probably in a lot of pain.
You saw the snare?
I saw it right there, yeah.
It's terrible.
There's right here. It looks. Let me spray this again. The dog still had a big wound around its neck, and it still looked pretty nasty. But Doe said he had seen lots of dogs like this heal perfectly once the snare is removed.
The bond between wild dogs is very strong. The rest of the pack waits nearby at a safe distance, nervous yet inquisitive.
The problem is, if you take a dog out of the pack for too long, the pack will no longer accept it when you try to bring it back.
Hey. These things are so jumpy. Jumpy, baby. Scrapping. Let's check that other side.
What would you get small shoes?
Well, we've got that estimates. She's about 4 years old.
Satisfied that they have done all they can, it is time to give the reversal drug and send the dog on its way.
It takes a few seconds, and I was fiddling with something, and Doe said, Ellen, get away. He's going to jump up. Yeah. Just tell them it needs a few minutes. He did. He jumped up, and he ran right off, right back to the pack, and we were like, oh, thank God, that it worked, everything's going to be fine.
The wild dog's injury was caused by humans, so the vets were compelled to help. Had this been a natural problem, they would not have intervened. This is one of the unwritten rules of wildlife management.
We've been looking for a while for this dog, honestly. This dog has traveled about, as a crow fly, about 40 kilometers with this thing,
It should be okay. We'll have people checking on it, make sure it's okay. But now that the snare's off, it should be fine, I think. Right, Doe?
Yeah, right. That's great. I just want to go and check on her. Let's just go and see if she's fine.
This was a really fun capture in a way because it was completely unplanned. We go through this sort of moment of terror and frantic thing, and then the dog got up and ran off. And it was just such a good feeling, kind of like we've already done our good deed for the day.
It's day 2 of the Elephant Research Project. Yesterday's results suggested that the birth control implants may be effective in some animals. But to form a clearer picture, the team must examine animals from the control group. These animals do not have the contraceptive implant. The herd has not traveled far since yesterday, and the air team has quickly found and darted the next female to be tested.
B18. B18.
Yep.
B18, yeah.
So over here we just have the Jacob's organ. Is the place where they breed. They kept all the smells. So you can see it over here. There's 2 small holes. Okay, so it's basically the way that they catch all the smell sense. not really by the trunk.
Once again, the team quickly sets up the ultrasound equipment. For the experienced crew, this high-tech process is almost routine. But for Ellen and Jorge, two vets from North America, each glimpse into the lives of these marvelous animals brings new wonder.
Every once in a while, I get to peek in, and it's really cool. I mean, I think ultrasounds are cool anyway, but to see this in the middle of the field, in the middle of Africa, see this very, very good ultrasound going on, it's really fun.
Loosen them here with this. It's the heart beating of the fetus.
As the image comes into focus, something miraculous appears. The heartbeat of an unborn baby elephant.
Left ovary and right ovary. Uterus, she is pregnant, but you'll have to find out how far she is.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
And any comments they might have.
Yep.
This kind of experience, you don't have it every day. You normally don't do an ultrasound in an elephant, especially in a wild elephant. We have this big animal just laying beside us, and at the same time there's a small piece of life inside of this massive thing. It was quite exciting for us to see this small baby moving in the uterus. I mean, this is something, hard to describe.
Where's Ellen? You can just write collar removed, all right?
Pregnancy in elephants lasts nearly 2 years, so the radio collar is removed and this mother-to-be will soon be on her way. More animals will need to be examined to be certain of the results, but so far the team is very encouraged.
Breathing fine. Taking a breath any second now. There we go. You can see the tip of the trunk is moving just a little bit. Basically done. We're going to pack up and reverse her.
What was the mirror?
She's only been down for less than half an hour.
Once again, the crew waits from a safe distance as the elephant is given the antidote. She will soon be back with the herd, unaware of the important role she has played in this project.
Can you see it from there?
I can see the ear.
With a population of more than 8,000 elephants, this form of birth control may not be entirely practical in places like Kruger. But research like this may one day lead to more humane alternatives in elephant population control.
If this project were not going on, if there were not some hope that we can deal with this problem medically, the alternative would be they'd still have to be killing elephants every year.
Is she standing? I can't see her now.
Yeah, he just
Hanging
10 meters from us.
It's so easy to get very emotional with these animals, but what people sometimes don't understand, if you don't control these animals, in the long term, in the future, they're not going to find food for themselves.
It's amazing to watch them. It makes you feel like they're not just animals, they're just like us. So you can understand how the issues surrounding them get very, very emotional.
Coming up on the Great African Wildlife Rescue.
We're moving these zebras because they don't belong here. This type of habitat is a problem for them.
Sometimes I really wish I could say to animals, listen, we're not going to hurt you.
I'm going to nail it, so you just check for respiration. Okay.
If we don't get this animal breathing again, this animal is going to die.
There we go.
Oh, JJ, hold!